Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk through grading a swale, and there's a number of ways to grade a swale. You could do it kind of manually in AutoCAD, which is not that difficult. A swale is generally fairly simple, but in this episode, Casey's going to go over corridors and show you how to use a corridor to grade a swale, and it will provide a much better result, and it's a little bit better for matching out the slope and the width and things like that. So let's learn from Casey as he shows us how to grade out a swale with corridors. Let's learn.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Casey. Today we're going to be going over how you can use corridors to design swales or grade out swales for you using Civil 3D. So for this project here, we have a lot of runoff coming off the back of each one of these lots that's going to be draining to the right across our screen. And we don't want this runoff to go onto the neighboring property. We want to catch this runoff, and we want to bring it down here to an inlet somewhere in this area, which is going to carry the water through a pipe and into the pond, or for the water to come out of the swale and then just continue down this hill and into our proposed pond. So what we can do is we can use the standard method of doing a corridor, which is drawing out our alignment. So we'll start with our alignment. So we're going to want this swale to run along the back of pretty much all of these lots, and it can pretty much just run completely straight to about right here somewhere. And we're just going to go ahead and create alignment out of that. So we're going to do alignment, create alignment from objects because we just drew a pie line. So we're going to create this alignment from this pie line, hit enter, and then the alignment direction, we're going to have it go from downstream to upstream as shown. So this direction is correct. We don't have to hit R before we hit enter to reverse it. So I'll just go ahead and hit enter. Okay, we're just going to name this alignment swale. We'll name it swale 1. Okay, and then our alignment style is going to be CVLX. And our alignment layer, we're going to leave on the 0 layer for now. We'll create a layer for potential swale alignments later on. And we're going to uncheck this box, add curves between tangents. This alignment was a straight line, so there is no tangents. There's nowhere for it to add any curves. But when doing alignments for pipes or pretty much anything besides roadways, we don't want it to add a default radius, even though we can specify the default radius here. So if you do want to add a default radius, you can specify it. But we're just going to go ahead and uncheck this box, hit OK. All right, and then now I've got an alignment here. I'm going to go over to our layer properties manager, which I'm going to drag over here. And I'm just going to create a layer. We actually already have this layer, CZ10 proposed alignment. And usually I'll create a separate layer for storm alignments. So we're just going to use this layer for this alignment. So CZ10 proposed alignment. And then we'll just go ahead and turn that guy back on in our layer states manager. Okay. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create an existing profile. So I've got these profiles over here created for the other corridors, so I'm just going to do it in this little box as well. So I'm going to go to Profile, Create Surface Profile, and I'm going to use the selected surface we want, or excuse me, the selected alignment we want is swale 1, and we're going to throw in the EG surface, and then we're going to hit Draw in Profile View. Okay, we're going to name the profile view the same as the alignment name, which is swale 1. And then we're going to go ahead and make it a road profile view style, just because it's the cleanest view style. It's the same view style that these profiles here have. Okay, we're going to leave the view layer on 0. We'll just go ahead and hit next. The station range and profile view height you can leave as automatic for both. And then our profile display options, I'm going to go ahead and turn the labels off just because they tend to crowd and clutter the profile. And we can add labels later on if needed. We'll go ahead and hit next. Usually there's never anything you need to change in your data bands or profile hatch options, so we can just go ahead and hit this Create Profile View button and then select where we want our profile. All right, so now we've got our profile of the existing surface, which we can then use to create a vertical alignment for our swale. So remember, our alignment is going from downstream to upstream. So this is the most upstream point, and this is the most downstream point. So if we come back and look, this does make sense here, how we have this dip here in the middle, because we've got a bit of a valley right here. Okay, and then at the end point of our alignment, we're currently at the elevation 864, and then at the most downstream point of our alignment, we're at the elevation 874. So we're actually at a higher elevation on the downstream point, so there's going to be a ton of cut that's going to have to happen in order for us to get water from this point all the way to this point. So what we might do is we might end up having maybe an inlet here and having a swale that drains up this way and then down this way into an inlet. But for now, we're just going to leave it as is, just so we can demonstrate what the process is like, and then we'll come back and make design changes later on. So from downstream to upstream, we're going to want to create our new vertical profile. So we can select our profile and then hit our profile view and then hit profile creation tools. And then we can create this new profile, which is going to be Swale 1. Great, and then we'll leave the profile on the 0 layer. We'll do no labels, and the profile style will stay CVLX design profile. We'll hit OK, and then we're going to use these profile layout tools to draw our new profile. So our swale, we want to go from an upstream point here to a downstream point here. So just to keep it simple for the sake of demonstrating the process, we're maybe going to have our swale start somewhere here at this point and then run downstream down to here. Like this. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and click on our profile. So we've got our profile here. I don't like that point being there, so I'm going to hit delete PVI and remove that guy. Right, so this is now our profile, which is going to come from this high point here, and it's going to drain all the water down this way. And I'm just going to go ahead and move this guy about right there. Okay, and we'll keep it somewhat close to the area. So we're going to go ahead and add labels to this profile. We'll select it, and then we'll hit Edit Profile Labels. Right, we'll add a standard label style for the major stations, and we'll add a standard label style for the lines, and then we'll hit Apply OK. This is going to tell us the slope of our line. So we're going to want about a 1% slope. So I'll go ahead and drop that bottom end a little bit more. Now we're at 0.75%. We'll drop it another foot. Now we're right at 1%. So here is our swale here, the vertical profile that our swale is going to follow. So we can close out of these profile geometry editor tools, and we can go back to our plan view. Now that we have our alignment created, we have our vertical and horizontal alignments created, we can create our assembly. So here's the assemblies that we've created for, go ahead and turn on the layers on just to make sure we can see everything. Here's the assemblies that were created for our road, and it's going to be the exact same process. We can create an assembly for our swale. So I'm going to go ahead and open up our tool palette. So I'm going to click this button here in the top left. Okay. And then I'm going to stay in the Civil Imperial Subassemblies tool palette, and I'm just going to go ahead and find some basic, some sort of basic subassembly that we can use in order to create a swale profile. So when doing subassemblies, you can actually copy subassemblies from other projects. So another project in which we use corridors to design swales was this guy, which I'm going to open up here, and I'm going to go pull the, let me move this guy out of the way. Give it a second to load. Taking a minute. And we're going to go ahead and pull the assembly that we use for the swales on this project, so that we can use it as a reference, which was this guy and this guy. So I can copy both of these and drop them in here. Go ahead and close this. Okay, so now we've got these two assemblies imported for our swales. So in our tool space, which I'm going to pull over so that it can be seen, under our assemblies, now we have these two assemblies that are created for our swales, which we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at. Each one of these assemblies is a pretty simple assembly. We've got the swale cross section itself here, and then the bottom of the swale, and then we've got our daylight on the end. So we have a daylight general here. I'm going to go ahead and pull our properties pane over here again, just so that it can be seen. So we've got a general daylight on each side. We've got a link, width, and slope on each side, and a link, width, and slope in the middle that has a slope of 0% and a width of 2 feet. And then these guys have a slope of 33%, which would be 3 to 1 on each side, and a width of 9 feet. And then this guy is the same here. So once you've already gone through the process of designing your swale in Channel Studio and you have the width and slopes of the side as well as the width of the bottom, you can come in here and just simply recreate your swale using an assembly and then use a corridor to generate it. So we're just going to use this swale that we have created here. It's got a 2-foot width at the bottom, 8 feet on each side that are at 3-to-1 slopes, and then it's going to daylight at a continued 3-to-1 slope on each side. 3-to-1 or 2-to-1 if it has to get steep on each side. So that's perfectly fine with me. Right, so we're going to come back to our project here. I'm going to go ahead and turn on all the layers that I need to have turned on. Okay, here's our alignment layer. And then our assembly can be recreated by using the tool palettes here. So like I said, we've got link width and slopes here in the middle and then daylights on each side. You can use the tool palettes and select these. We've got general daylight, this guy right here, which you can click and then insert, and then you can also find a link width and slope, which is right here, and then you can use this to insert as well, and you can combine all of that into an assembly to use as the assembly for your swale. So once you've done that and created something along the lines of this, which you, like I said, you can have already designed your swale in Channel Studio or just have a general idea of how you want, what size you want your swale to be. And once you've done that, you can go ahead and close out of your tool palettes here, and we can create our corridor. So we're going to come back up to our plan view of the site. We're going to hit under the Create Design tab, Corridor. We'll create a new corridor. We could just go ahead and name this Swale 1, right? And then our corridor layer, we already have a dedicated no plot corridor layer, which is a CZ10 proposed corridor. So we're just going to go ahead and throw that guy on there. Okay, and then our target surface is going to be EG, so our assembly is going to be Swale 2, our target surface EG. Okay, and then our alignment is going to be Swale 1, our profile is going to be Swale 1. Okay, we'll just give this one more look over, and then our style can be CVLX corridor. Go ahead and press OK, hit apply, rebuild the corridor, press OK. We can close out our event viewer. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and turn on our corridor layer. Okay, as you can see, we've already got corridors created for each of our roads, but here it has created a corridor, and you can tell what the extents of the grading are by this outer boundary. So although our corridor style doesn't show contours, we're going to create a surface here that will show the contours, and those contours essentially are going to go to this outer boundary of the corridor. So you can't see the contours, but you can see what the extents of grading are based off of your corridor. So to create our surface and extract our contours that are going to grade in the swale, we can just click on the corridor here. We're going to hit Corridor Surfaces up here in the top under the Modify Corridor tab. And then we are going to hit this little button right here, which is going to create a new corridor surface. And then we'll specify the code top and then hit this little green plus. Hit Apply, OK. And now we have a surface created. I've already made a layer for this surface that are generated from corridors, and I named it CZ Corridor Surface, which is right here. So I'm going to turn that on, and these surfaces have already been created for our road. So I'm just going to grab one of those guys. I'm going to do MA for match, and I'm going to match that style to that guy so that it's the same style. So we've got some funky things going on here. There's obviously some weird grading going on up here because our vertical profile did not extend all the way up to there, so that's why it kind of errors and bugs out there. But as you can see, as the rest of it here, you could see, follow these contours. It has graded this guy at 1% and tied it into the rest of the landscape and graded in our swale. So this swale happens to be running perpendicular to the natural path, flow of water, which is why the grading extents are so wide. Perhaps there might have been a better location to show off the capability. However, you can see that the corridor is quite capable of grading out a pretty complex area in order to grade out swales. So this is a great example of how you can use corridors to grade out an area, and you could use it for very, very specific things. We use it for roadways all the time, but not many of us use it for swales. As long as you make your assembly to be accurate to whatever it is that you're trying to grade out. So this assembly is going to follow the center line of our alignment, then it'll grade it out for you without any issues. So you can use this for swales, you can use this for roads, you can use this to grade out lots adjacent to the roads if your assembly is built accurate enough. And this is just a great way to demonstrate the capability and power that corridors have within Civil 3D.